Well, Seth, we appreciate you coming on and spending a couple of minutes with us. And I think one of the things that drew us to your story is that, no offense, but you're really not supposed to be here given the trajectory of your career. You were a walk-on at Centenary College, right?
Yeah.
You were a walk-on at Centenary College.
Yeah.
You had an over 5 ERA when you were there, right?
I don't know about that. I wasn't looking at stats.
Okay. 34th round draft pick. And then you had back surgery right after you get drafted. So with all of that working against you, why do you think you are where you are?
I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I happened to meet the right people at the right time in my life. I kept working hard, the same cliche stuff, I got lucky. But I like to think I worked hard enough to help luck find me,
I mean, you kind of worked hard enough to get yourself a tryout with the Mets. The Mets are holding this tryout in Louisiana. There was 12 of you or so that were supposed to be there. And you said in a newspaper article that you pitched better that day than maybe you had your entire collegiate career. What happened that day to get the Mets' attention?
Well, I remember going to this workout in Monroe. It was like an hour-and-a-half drive. Me and my dad went. And I don't think I threw first. I saw some other guys throw, and I didn't really know what was going on or how it was, how if you're impressing the scouts there. So, people were throwing, and some guys were taking bat in practice, and the scouts weren't really saying anything to anybody. And then I get up there, and 2 pitches in, one guy sprints across to the other guy and shows him the radar gun. And I'm like, okay, something's happening. And then I finish up. I threw maybe 20 or 25 pitches, and I was throwing as hard as I could. Just, usually I throw as hard as I can. When I was 21. The ball's going all over the place. Well, today it was going right where I wanted it, and some pretty good velocity. And as soon as I got done, they called me over and started asking me questions, had me filling out paper. I'm like, well, no one else is doing this. So,
is that the first time you thought you had a shot at getting drafted?
I remember I got in the car with my dad, and first thing I said on the way back, I said, I think I just got myself a job. And then, I had another workout a week later with the Rockies. They sent me up to Denver for that one, so I got to pitch on Coors Field, and had the same mentality, same attitude about it, but the balls were all over the place. So, well, good thing I did so good in Louisiana last week.
You said to your dad, I better have been right about that. I got myself
well, good thing for your curveball too that you didn't end up pitching in the Rockies organization. But when you were playing in high school, you played all kinds of sports. You played soccer, you did track and field. I think you punted, right? You were a football punter. Do you feel like if you were coaching young kids now or mentoring young kids that you would say, I think you should play every sport you can possibly play, or would you tell them to concentrate on just one?
No, I definitely tell them to play multiple sports. I mean, I love golfing in the off seasons and, doing anything. I wish I could go play some pickup basketball, but I'm a little old for that, and it's a little dangerous. I don't do that anymore. But I think every sport. I mean, I think that's really how you build a good athletic foundation as an athlete. So I would definitely say play every sport. I used to play basketball too, but I quit because it was kind of in the middle of baseball season. But basketball coach was trying my last 3 years of high school to get me to come play basketball.
Well, yeah, you're like 6'4", so.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. I think every sport helps.
You say you were playing every sport as a young kid. You were also doing something different than most kids, though, when it came to baseball, and that you were throwing the curveball. And I know it's kind of changed now, but when all of us were growing up, they said that's how you get elbow injuries, is you throw curveballs as a kid. How did you develop your curveball so early, and why did you and your father and your coaches feel like it was okay for you to do it?
Okay, well, so the college I walked onto when we were, I think we started at like 9 or 10 or 11, somewhere around there. We started going to that college. They would have little camps and,
Centenary College would have this, okay.
And we'd all go as players and do their little baseball camps. And after a while, they started just taking just our team, and there would be like 3 or 4 of the Centenary players and Centenary coaches there. And they'd just let us use their facility and practice on their fields, give us some pointers here and there. Well, my dad was the coach of those teams, so he was talking to Coach McCann, who was the head coach of seminary at the time, and he showed him how he shows his college pitchers how to throw curveballs. So he started showing me, and that's where the tennis ball container came from. That's you throw it and you
Well,
get
explain
that
to
end
people who
over
haven't
end.
heard that story, what the tennis ball container exercise is.
Okay, so the tennis ball, you hold it right side up like this. So when you throw it, it's for learning how to throw a curveball. You throw it just to see it go end over end. If it's turning sideways and stuff, then you're doing a little wrist turn or something. And supposedly that's bad for your elbow. So you throw it and it just goes end over end. And he taught my dad that, and my dad taught me that. And then after high school, my dad was still, Coach McCann was still the coach of Centenary. My dad still knew him, so he let me walk on as a favor for being friends with him.
Are you familiar with the Seth Lugo rule at Centenary College?
I think I have an idea. It's probably got something to do about no surfing.
Yeah, no surfing when playing close to a body of water. What happened to make that rule happen?
So we were playing in Hawaii in 2011. I mean, it's Hawaii. I've never been. And the first day we got there, we didn't have a game, and we all went surfing. And I think I got up on like the first wave I tried, and not many people had success surfing, and I did. So I was going out every morning after that before games, and I pitched, I don't remember, it was like the third or fourth game there. And I went out surfing before the game, and I started off real good. I think I was hitless through like 3 or 4 innings, and gave up a drag bunt to Colton Wong to give up my no-hitter, and then the wheels fell off after that. I think I gave up like 9 runs in the next inning and a half.
And so they blamed the surfing.
Yeah.
So, yes, I was tired.
Just tell them if Cespedes can
very
golf, you
fatigued.
can surf
Yeah.
before a game.
No, I don't surf before games anymore. I was tired. I remember how tiring it was swimming out there that day.
You once told me, I don't know if you remember this, but you once told me that at no point growing up or even in college did you feel like you were the best player on your team. But you also kind of always expected that you would be here, you would be where you are. How does that jive? It just seems so strange to not feel like you're the best player in this really small bubble, yet still feel like Major League Baseball is a possibility.
Well, I mean, I've always wanted to be the best, so I mean, I think that kept my work ethic where it needed to be. So I was always competing with the other guys to be better, be stronger. I was pretty skinny growing up, so I was never stronger than anybody. So I think a lot of it's got to do with maturing later than a lot of the guys I grew up with. But I had something I was going with that.
But it was
I lost
just,
train of thought
no,
there.
it's all right. But it was, so it just essentially was it that your physical capabilities didn't match where maybe your mental or, certain parts of skill were at that point in time?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I said, I was smaller than a lot of the guys growing
Yeah.
up. I remember I was going with it now. So I remember at 13, 14, like the first time we were taking batting practice on the field, I'm out in the outfield shagging balls, and I'm going 100 miles per hour to every ball I
Yeah.
can try to get, and everyone else is kind of walking and getting yelled at. I remember my dad and the other coaches are yelling at some of the kids for walking and not really trying, and I'm out there chasing down every ball, and I was the last one on the field that day. So I think a lot of it just had to do with just the energy I had and how much fun I had playing the game. So I knew that's what I wanted to do, and I wasn't going to let anything stop me. And where some guys, they may have been better than me, maybe they didn't enjoy it as much as me. I don't know.
You had the big surgery in 2012, the year after you get drafted, the spinal fusion surgery. You're in bed for 3 months. What was the toughest thing about having to overcome that type of surgery and just the fact that you were pretty much immobile for that long?
Well, the toughest part, I don't know about the toughest part. I think the easiest part was I didn't know much about the surgery, so I didn't know how serious it was. So the whole time I was going through all that stuff and even the rehab, it never really hit me what exactly I was trying to overcome and, get through. So I think that would be the easiest thing is I just kept my mind right by basically being ignorant to it all. But I would say the hardest part was, just sleeping.
The hardest part
when I
when you're in
slept.
bed for 3 months is sleeping?
Yeah, you lay down for that long, it hurts. It does.
I can see that.
Yeah, I
That
guess
makes
I get
sense.
it.
You ever
Yeah.
sleep for 12 hours, you wake up hurting.
We talked to Nimmo, and he said that failing or having these adversities on his way to the major leagues helped him here because he knows what it's like to fail, so it doesn't bother him as much. Do you kind of get that same sense that you went through a lot to get here? So if you give up a home run, it's maybe easier to shake off?
Yeah, I think so. I've said before to other guys, if my stuff isn't that good that day, well, I'm not sweating it because I grew up with not very good stuff. It's only been good the last few years, so I learned how to pitch when it was bad. So when things aren't really going my way, it's, well, I've been here before, so you kind of think back to similar situations or similar games, or maybe you pitched in that ballpark before and you just kind of go back to a good thought or a good memory, or visualize something good happening, and that kind of takes care of itself. That's what I do, at least.
They whenever anyone's referring to you, whenever any of the coaches talk about what they like about you, they use the word pitchability, and that's kind of what you're talking about right here, that you said until the last few years you didn't have good stuff. So what did you learn about pitching? How do you think about pitching maybe differently from some guys who came up just with these blistering fastballs and always kind of dominating and getting by just based on their stuff?
Well, first off, I'm going to say I didn't want to be a pitcher. I wanted to be a position player. So
you're not alone in that. You're not alone in that,
yeah.
right?
Does every pitcher think that?
Basically, every pitcher seems like they settle to be a pitcher, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But I like hitting, and I like to think of what I would see as a hitter. I think it helps that I've got around 50 at bats in the big league. So I like to visualize what my fastball looks like coming out of my hand compared to a breaking ball, and I kind of think of what would I be looking for here if I was a hitter? How would I react to this pitch? Where am I looking for the next pitch at? And I just try to be a hitter when I'm out there pitching. I mean, I know sometimes the catchers get a little frustrated with me with how much I shake, but my response to that is, well, if you don't know what I'm throwing, the hitter doesn't know what I'm throwing.
Yeah,
so
right.
I try to think like a hitter.
That's really an interesting thought. Is that something that is unique with pitchers? I mean, is that something to just think about it from the hitter's perspective rather than from what they've got and they're feeling that day?
I don't know many guys that do. I'll bring it up to some guys, and some other pitchers can understand what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're really understanding. Visualize, see it come out of here. Can you tell that's a fastball or a slider or a sinker? Like these hitters, they got to pick this stuff up in a split amount of time. So if you keep it simple like that, I mean, I don't know. I don't think many guys do think like that. But
how do you visualize that, though? How do you go about? Do you watch tape of yourself and try and see what it looks like, or is it just you can kind of feel naturally what's going on?
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter who's pitching out there. When I'm watching a game, or whether I'm in the bullpen or watching at home, I imagine myself has that pitcher's stuff. I'm left-handed, I've got a sinker, slider, whatever that guy has. And then I try to visualize what a hitter would see. I don't go to film because you can't really get a feel for that. I mean, unless you're standing in the box. I mean, because the film, you're further away than the umpire, but hitter's the closest one to the pitch. So it's, unless you stood in the box, it's impossible to do. So I don't know. I try to put myself in other pitchers' shoes and get hitters out the way they can, not necessarily how I would. And I think that helps me when I go into the game. So if I'm watching a starter pitch, I'm not thinking what I would throw there. I'm thinking what I think he should throw there. And I think that kind of keeps you, I don't know.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Yeah.
Are these nuances, these ways that you think, have you always approached the game this way, or is this kind of something you've developed as you've seen hitters more often and kind of been in the same league now for a few years?
Well, when I was growing up before high school ball, like I said, my dad was our coach, and when I would pitch, he would call pitches, and we would talk about it after games at home and stuff, and he would say, well, I'd say, why are you calling this pitch right here? Well, I'm trying to call the pitch the hitter doesn't want to hit. So from then, I always kind of thought of it like that. But I definitely think more about it and start to understand it better, and understand different hitters better. I mean, the more I've played, the more I've been around it, the more I focus on it. But also, my pitching coach in college, Jason Stevens, he was big into this too. You throw a pitch inside to set up a pitch outside. You throw a pitch up in the zone to set up a pitch down in the zone. You pitch in to pitch out. You pitch up to pitch down. You pitch fast to throw slow. It's all opposites, and you just kind of go back and forth and try to not fall into a pattern. And slow, fast, inside, outside, up, down. But the real key is executing the pitch, though.
Right.
That's the hardest part.
Right. Why do you think your stuff has gotten better? I mean, you said you didn't have great stuff until the last few years. Why do you think it's gotten better?
I put a lot of work into my daily routine and off seasons. I mean, I really get after it in the off seasons. I think it's just a matter of me getting stronger. Like I said, I was always real little growing up, and I'm still pretty skinny now. But you know, and also not settling. I was telling someone this the other day. I said, you know, I'm 28. I'm not going to say the player, but I'm 28, you're 25. Don't be happy with where your fastball is now. I'm throwing harder than I've ever thrown. It's because every year I expect to throw harder. You know, my goal is to throw 100 miles per hour. I'm still 3 away from it. I've hit 98 twice, so 2, but really it's not settling, you know, just having a goal and keep on working on it, whether it be better command or more velocity. I think, you know, I look at Nolan Ryan, he threw 98 at 47 years old, so I don't think age is a thing when it comes to, obviously it is, but you can't think it is. Sure. You know, you have to forget about that and continue to work hard and push your body in the right way, you know. So I think really for me it's the work I put in.
Do you want to pass this stuff on one day? I mean, it's obviously still very early in your major league career, but can you see yourself as a pitching coach for a major league team at some point and kind of molding the minds of young pitchers later on in life?
Yeah, I think I could. I think it'd be a lot of fun. You know, I like to talk to the other pitchers, and you know, all through the minors, I would sit out there and watch everybody throw their bullpens just to try to pick up a thing or two, you know, maybe that they're doing that's better than me or something that I think they might need to work on. I may not go off and tell them this, you know, because some people, criticism isn't necessarily a good thing. Right. So, but I think so. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
You know, this is also about a conversation we once had, but I just want to kind of give viewers and listeners an understanding of how close you did come to thinking you wouldn't get here even after you were drafted. When you're grinding it out in the minor leagues and it's not necessarily happening as quickly as you'd like, you told me once that you started looking at some other jobs in the offseason, right? And thinking about what you would do. How close did you come to thinking that you weren't going to get to the major leagues and you were going to have to pursue something else?
Okay, so after 2015, I had random phone calls calling me from a resume I filled out online, and I was just getting random.
So you filled something out?
Yeah.
So on Monster.com.
I was getting phone calls for jobs and stuff, and yeah, I wish I wouldn't have done that. It was pretty annoying there for a couple of months.
What was? Give us an array of what types of jobs.
I was looking into like a UPS delivery guy or something.
Really? And this is after 2015?
This was during.
During 2015.
Would you throw the mail, you know, end over end?
This is after giving up 9 and I think an inning and a third.
So you gave up 9 an inning and a third, and you went right online pretty soon after that and filled out. So that was you filled it out during the 2015 season.
Yeah.
And after the 2015 season, you got added to the 40-man, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty unbelievable.
Good timing.
It's pretty unbelievable. Do you ever do you when you got added to the 40-man? Were you surprised? I mean, given where you thought you were going to be a few months earlier?
Well, I mean, it kind of led up to it, or it wasn't so much a surprise when it happened. You know, that was against the Phillies AA team, and they beat me pretty good.
Yeah,
so it was pretty, and it was after a couple of little iffy starts, and you know, your mind does that to you. Sometimes you're down, sometimes you're up, but. I turned it around, started pitching better, and got called up to AAA and had a lot of success in AAA. So by the time the offseason come, I wasn't thinking like that at all. But, you know, it happens. I remember in 2014 thinking the same thing after giving up, I think, 7 to the Yankees in an inning. Like, well, what am I going to do now?
Well, I think you found your calling.
I think so. Are you here without Statcast? Are you? If 1995 is Seth Lugo in the big leagues, or is Statcast and spin rate, is that a large reason why you made it?
I don't know. I think without Statcast, I don't know if I would have had the opportunities I would have. I think just putting a number on my curveball, I think, really helped me get jobs over some guys in the minor leagues because my fastball, I was throwing. My range would be from 85 to 94 on the fastball, and sometimes that doesn't play that well. I had plenty of coaches tell me to throw hard every pitch, and. I'm getting to where I can throw harder every pitch now, but I think without the label on the curveball, I think that definitely helped my career. So without Statcast, I think it would have been tougher. I still think I'd have made it, though. I don't see myself as the guy to give up. About the job stuff, that was if they released me, not because I was going to quit. I wasn't going to quit and find those jobs. That was if I had to.
Understood.
Backup plan.
All right, so well, I know you have an extensive pregame routine, and we got to let you go in a second. We'll leave you with 2 quick questions because we'd be remiss if we didn't ask about obviously the pitching with a partially torn UCL, and I know it's something that you don't really let bother you. But did that take some mental adjustment to know what you're dealing with and kind of let it go? And how much on a daily basis do you just need to make sure that that's in the right place and you're doing enough to strengthen the muscles around it?
Well, last year I think it was. I tried not to think about it, tried to forget it. But what you end up doing is maybe not snap off the slider as hard as I should. And that's when you have one back up and go over the middle of the plate, something like that. But since it's been a while, now I kind of see it as if it's going to go, it's going to go. So I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm not going to throw a lesser pitch because I'm scared I'm going to get hurt. If I'm going to get hurt, I'm going to get hurt. So if I'm going to get hurt, I'd rather it be with, my full intensity, max effort, just good mentality about it. And I think that's kind of got me in trouble in the past, just trying to make sure I got longevity when, the game's short enough anyway. So if I try to hold back, then maybe I'm not as good as I could be and I don't even have a job. So
Right.
I may as well just let it go and, see what happens. But at the same time, I spend a lot of time on my shoulder program, a core program, and everything we do in there to make sure I'm ready. So it gives me the confidence that I can go out there and, throw the way I want to throw because of the preparation I put in before the game. So it gives me confidence to trust enough to not worry about it.
Yeah. Did you want? I know he doesn't have. We asked him before, but really quick, we have to. Any
Let
Jay
Jay
story.
Horowitz
You can even just say, "Hey, Jay Horowitz, guy's the
Give
best."
a plug to
you know?
Jay.
Yeah, give
I
him
mean, Jay is the best. Okay, it's not too much of a story, but he did make contact with a football. He had a wiffle ball bat, and he hit the football. They were throwing pitches at him.
Who was?
Who do you think?
Syndergaard,
DeGrom.
DeGrom.
So
Made contact.
They're trying to strike him out, and he hit it.
So basically, he can hit off DeGrom and Syndergaard.
There it is.
Footballs. Football.
He can hit. That's the bottom line.
Nerf football.
Seth, I really appreciate it, man. We really
Seth,
appreciate it.
great
This was
stuff.
great.
Thanks
man.
for having me.